Either that or potentially go to Honduras.
Mr. Owen, let me now direct your attention to early June of 1985. I take it by this time you are back in the United States.
Yes.
And in early June of 1985, did you take a trip out to the Denver area?
Yes, I did. I flew out to Denver and then drove up to Tabernash to meet with General Singlab.
And did you take this trip at the request of Colonel North?
I don't think it was necessarily at the request of Colonel North. General Singlab and I had become friends over a period of time. He was having a meeting with some different people and thought it would be wise that I attend. I talked to Colonel North about it, and he thought it would also be a good idea.
But if not at the request of Colonel North, you discussed this meeting with him prior to the time that you went to the meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And you then did meet with Mr. Singlab in the Denver area?
Yes, I drove up to his home.
Were there other people at the meeting?
I arrived there in one evening, and then the next day, I think 4 or 5 people arrived for a meeting which lasted much of the day.
And who were the people who had arrived for that meeting?
There was Robert K. Brown, a soldier of fortune, Ed Dearborn, and several other people from Soldier of Fortune.
Did you have a discussion with General Singlab during the course of the meetings or the time that you were there about weapons procurements for the Contras?
Yes, he was in the process of putting together a purchase for the Contras of arms and munitions.
And did you discuss it with him?
Yes, I did.
Did you go over a list with him?
Yes. Time was growing short. He needed a final decision on some of the amounts and the types of weapons that he needed.
Was this a weapons purchase that he was putting together for Mr. Calero?
Yes, it was.
And what he needed was for there to be a verification of the amount of weapons and various things that were required?
Yes, they were talking about over $5 million that was going to be purchased, and he wanted to be sure that he was purchasing exactly what Adolfo Calero needed.
What did this list look like?
Are you talking about what types of arms were on it?
Yes.
They were talking about purchasing 10,000 AK-47s, 1 million rounds of AK ammunition, hand grenades, mortar rounds, things like that.
Do you remember anything else on the list?
General Singlab thought that he had an opportunity to buy some SA-7s, ground-air anti-aircraft missiles.
Excuse me, if you could just tell us, what is an SA-7?
It's a ground-air Soviet-made missile that's used to bring down planes or helicopters.
And this was there anyone else who was involved in this weapons purchase?
Mr. General Singlab may have had some associates that were involved.
Do you know any of the associates who were involved?
I believe so.
And do you recall one in particular?
One was a woman by the name of Barbara Studley, who I think was basically acting as a facilitator and not necessarily directly involved in the procurement.
After going over this list of weapons with General Singlab, where did you go?
I knew that Adolfo Calero was going to be speaking at San Francisco, and General Singlab thought it would be a good idea if I were to fly out there and meet with him and go over the arms list and then get back in touch with him and come up with a definitive answer on some of the questions he had.
And did you?
Yes.
You flew out to San Francisco?
Yes, I flew out to San Francisco and listened to his speech and then met him afterwards.
You met Mr. Calero afterwards?
Yes.
Where did you meet him?
He was very busy. He had several meetings. He was traveling around with a couple of San Franciscoans who had put together this speech, which I believe was in front of the Commonwealth Club. I wanted to go meet in a private room or just go off somewhere alone for a few minutes. He felt he didn't have the time, so he got in the back seat of the car, which was driven by one of his hosts, and we had to go off and drop something off somewhere, and so he just asked me to come along.
So you rode around in the back of the car with him?
Yes, I had a yellow manila pad with the list on it, and there were particular numbers corresponding with each of the munitions that were needed or were in question, and we went over that list.
Just so I understand, you had the munitions list with you at the time?
Yes, I did. I brought it from Colorado.
And you went over the list with Mr. Calero?
Yes.
And that was in order to verify for General Singlab the precise quantities and types of weapons that Mr. Calero wanted?
Yes.
And you did that with Mr. Calero, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And you agreed on a final amount?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to call anyone during the period of time that you were driving around in the back of the car?
I would say about 20 minutes into the ride, we pulled off to a payphone, and I placed a call to Colonel North.
A call was made?
Yes, to Colonel North.
Where was Colonel North at the time?
I believe he was in his office.
At the old executive office building?
Yes.
And I take it you could hear Mr. Calero's side of the conversation?
I had talked with Colonel North earlier in the day, and he asked me to have Adolfo call him. So I talked with him for a minute and put Adolfo on.
And among the things that they talked about, did they talk about this weapons purchase?
I think they mentioned it in guarded language without going into specifics because it was over an open phone line.
So would it be fair to say that they talked to each other over this open phone line in some sort of a code?
Not really in a code, but just would talk around things and not be specific.
They, I take it, were not willing to mention 10,000 AK-47s over the telephone?
No.
Did you also call General Singlab?
I don't believe I was with Mr. Calero at the time, but later I did call General Singlab.
And were you able to communicate to General Singlab the final figures that were required?
Yes, I gave him the coded list. We had worked out a code before I left of certain numbers corresponding to certain munitions, and gave him the responsibility to, or I should say, gave him the numbers that were needed.
Did you then return to Washington?
Yes, I did.
Did you have occasion to discuss this list with Colonel North?
Within a day or two, I went in to meet with Colonel North, and I took in a copy of the list and told him what it was that was being purchased.
And did you talk to him at all about the list?
We discussed it a little bit, discussed the prices and so forth.
Do you recall whether you discussed any single or particular item that was on the list?
I believe we had a conversation about the SA-7s.
Do you recall what Mr. Calero had said about the SA-7s?
Yes, he had hoped to get the British blowpipe. He felt that would be more effective, and so the decision was made not to purchase what could have been a fairly sizable quantity because of the cost and also the hope that they would be able to get the blowpipe.
Did you discuss this particular issue, the relative costs or merits of the blowpipe as opposed to the SA-7 with Colonel North?
We discussed it, yes.
And what did Colonel North have to say about that?
I think he probably agreed that the blowpipe would have been a better weapon for them.
Did he indicate to you that he was or had a source for blowpipes or was pursuing a source for blowpipes?
I believe he may have.
And that he was going or working or trying to obtain them from a third country?
Yes.
And so he generally agreed that Calero should not buy the SA-7s, I take it?
Yes, and again, there was a concern about the cost and the amount of money that this purchase was going to entail.